first off, I want to let you know this presentation is not mandated or a legal requirement. These are just ideas to keep safe and use your own judgment and rules set forth by the CDC and your local government when performing your craft. So I call this the pivot to safe micro weddings, a safe way to the new normal, or the new abnormal. My name is Alan Katz. I own a big team of 37 professional officiants. I have a boutique wedding chapel in Long Beach, which after this is done, I have to run back and do a wedding act. And I performed over 6,000 weddings in my career. I'm the winner of the ABC Trendsetter Award, WIPA's Officiant of Excellent Award nationally. I'm a public speaker on wedding success, and I'm a safe pivot specialist. I just gave myself that title for this presentation. So today we're going to talk about ideas and concepts to make that pivot to micro weddings easier and profitable for wedding vendors, and to create great memories on a smaller scale for our couples and do it safely. So what is a micro wedding? This is a couple of my couples from the last week. A couple weeks. So a micro wedding is basically, honey, we shrunk ourselves. Basically, it's doing what we've done, but on a smaller scale. The big thing you have to worry about right now is liability. Our job as wedding professionals is to do an event that's safe within our specialties. Safety is key, and we must always exceed safety parameters. So remember, if somebody gets sick at an event that you're part of, you may have liability. So you want to always adhere to and surpass the safety requirements that are put in place. And otherwise, you'll have no defense to most claims. But if you're out there saying, look, washed my hands, had a mask, was wearing goggles, whatever the requirements are at the time, if you exceed that, then you risk not messing with your liability issues. People are going to sue no matter what, right? But you lessen your risk if you follow the requirements. Always, 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 always wear a mask. Oh, did I say always wear a mask? Yes. So I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, whatever. We are leading by example, and we have to wear a mask to keep ourselves safe, to keep our team safe, to keep our guests and our couples safe. Lead by example. If you can't wear a mask, if you can't go out there and wear a mask, don't do events. Just hang up your stocking or do something in the office. But if you're going to be out there, wear a mask. It's for the safety of yourself, your team. You want them to be able to live through the next event. If you're handling items, touch them or touch anything, wear gloves too. So face covering or PPE for all guests. What's going to be required? That's going to be dependent on what the local guidelines are. In different areas, that's different. What's good up in Kern County is different than LA or Santa Barbara or Orange County. LA County, we're still pretty sick down here. So masks and recommending that all guests wear it is pretty much standard for right now. And you can get creative with your guest masks. I have a company that makes special bride and groom masks for me that I can give to my couples or sell to my couples. Get them in the same decoration as what the tablecloths are, what the decor is. You put a special wedding logo on them or a catchphrase. Provide them disposable masks upon entry so that they'll have a mask. You want to have sanitation protocols in place, maybe hand sanitizers at a table as guest favors, and have stations anywhere they're likely to touch. Always have a cleaned restroom facility and the bar. Make sure that there's ways that the bar, nobody's going to get infected, and easy ways to do that. Maybe have guest favors that are sanitizers. So in order to get married, you have to have a marriage license. And with COVID, most of the county clerk's offices are not open. What's it like there in Kern?
Right now, they are open, but it's via video. So you have to go through quite a protocol to get a marriage license now.
Right. So the other option is you come down here to LA if you want to make the ride, or we can deliver it up there to you. It's expensive for us to deliver it, but if you need it quickly, we can do that.
It can be done.
Orange County is issuing them at the Honda Center. Their appointments are a few weeks out. Ventura and San Diego are by appointments too, but you must be a resident of the county. LA County, Riverside, and San Bernardino are doing virtual licenses and ceremonies. But again, you have to be a resident of the county. One of the people has to be. And then there's a special notaries like me, who I issue the confidential licenses on behalf of the county, which was put in place because I formed a subcommittee of wedding chapels in Southern California. And I put together a 10-point program of why they needed to reestablish the notary program. And I got the health department, I got the county supervisor's offices in the loop, and the county clerk's office. And I put together this amazing presentation and compelled them to open. I told them, that on this certain date, on Thursday, you're going to announce it. On Friday, you're going to start taking appointments. And on Monday, you're going to start issuing them. And they did exactly what I told them. So that's why these coalitions that we're putting together are so essential, because the government doesn't know what the heck they're doing. Sorry, I almost said fuck. Oh, sorry. They don't know what they're doing, so they need our help. So if you don't know about marriage licenses, there's two types of marriage licenses, public and confidential. A public license requires 1 or 2 witnesses to sign the license is recorded, becomes a matter of public record, which means anyone can get a copy. Your friends and family, every telemarketer, Chester the identity thief can get a copy. It's a matter of public record. A confidential license requires no witnesses, only the officiant. You have to state that you live together as a couple, and it's recorded but only accessible by the couple. Those are the ones that we issue, and those are the ones that are also available at the county clerk's office. So guest size. Let's talk about the event itself. Guest size does matter. How many people can we have there? Well, the rules about guest size are going to be changing, and we have to adjust with that. One reason why many late year weddings have changed is because some older guests don't feel comfortable about traveling or being in groups. Adjust your guest list to people who feel comfortable about attending. And really get a commitment from people. Do you feel on the wall about this? Well, don't come, enjoy it virtually. And virtual weddings are being done with Zoom, Facebook, Instagram Live, Messenger, Skype, or other programs. Some companies have pivoted to make this very professional multi-camera broadcast quality. And that's really cool. So making it virtual. So if you're at a venue, hire a professional team that does this type of thing, where they're going to have multi-cameras. They're going to have big screens where the people who are at the wedding can see all the people watching virtually. Have multiple cameras to catch the action, what's happening in different plans. Pre-plan it with the other vendors as a production timeline, and then record the event for the future. Always have a virtual host so they can guide guests through the events, and have a hotline for the more technically challenged guests, which a lot of the older people haven't Zoomed in a long time in more ways than one. So one of the things you can also do is have breakout rooms and bring relatives to and friend groups so that the couple can visit in smaller groups more intimately. Kind of like when a couple goes around from table to table during the reception. Well, they can go around from virtual room to virtual room to virtual room. You can put on slideshows, have trivia games about the couple, and really make it fun for the people who are watching online. And one of the things I'll mention in a little while, but I was talking with a caterer about this as well, is people who are watching online, why don't you set it up that they can be delivered food? When your food is being delivered to you, have a caterer or a restaurant in their area deliver food to their house. How cool would that be? They get to eat really good food while you're eating really good food. Kind of an idea. So now entry into the venue for vendors. Every vendor should be temperature checked and quizzed as to their health to symptoms of CV and exposures to others who are infected. If you don't pass the test, if you have a high temperature, you can't come in. You must agree to properly sanitize before, during, and after the event. And what do we say? Wear a mask, always. And observe appropriate social distancing. If a vendor fails to comply with the proper safety measures, they'll be escorted off the property. If you're sick, stay home. I was doing a wedding, it was a bigger wedding, 25 people. I know that sounds funny, but these days I was doing a bigger wedding, 25 people. And the photographers refused to wear a mask. And oh, I just don't like it. I just don't like wearing it. And they were standing, a foot away from the couple. And I was not happy about this. I told them, to back away from me. And so it's really important that all the vendors adhere to a strict code of ethics as far as their exposure to coronavirus. It saves you lawsuits, it saves them getting sick, and it's what you should do. So for guests, every guest also needs to get temperature checked and quizzed as to their health and CV symptoms, and explain the social distance protocols as they come in, maybe give them a printout, advise on sanitation stations around the property to sanitize themselves, and if they're sick or have a temperature, they will not be granted access. And if they violate the rules, they will be asked to leave. And that's going to be kind of a tough thing to do, but you have to set up protocols with your couple and with people who are hiring. You say, look, we're putting on a safe event. If your drunk friend Bob decides that he's going to go, close talk to everybody, we're busting Bob out and we're sending him home. And you'll agree to that ahead of time. Entry for the venue employees have to be tested before returning to work and be tested often. Have health screenings before and after their shift. Scrubbing upon entries, always wear masks and gloves and change them when appropriate. And have staff dedicated to sanitizing high traffic areas. One of the big things that we're talking about too is having a compliance captain and crew. A compliance captain is an employee or a trained health professional present to oversee the event to make sure that all the protocols are being adhered to. They're there to help the guests and vendors make wise decisions during the event, help to instruct their staff on special cleaning procedures during the event, and they'll also be ones there to escort vendors or guests off the property who violate established protocol. I wish I could have kicked those photographers out because they were close contact with everyone. And that's just not cool. I don't care what your opinion is on it. We lead by example. And we need to make sure we provide a safe environment for everybody. I mean, it made me uncomfortable. If it made me uncomfortable, I know it made other people uncomfortable. So during the ceremony, you have to do it based on appropriate distancing size or requirements. Families can be seated together in groups 6 feet apart from others. If you're couples, 2 chairs, far enough away. The wedding party should also be distanced, and unless they're family living together. And the officiant should be able to be 6 feet away from the couple. If the couple decides they want their mask off, I make that 10 or 12 feet. It's kind of hard to have a couple really do their ceremony with their mask on, so there are allowances for that. So traditional ceremony items still need to be done, like unity ceremonies and blessings and vows, and of course the kiss. But anything they need to touch or will be touching needs to be sanitized properly before they do it. So if they're doing a sand ceremony or a unity candle, the candles need to be sanitized beforehand and placed on a clean table. The ring bearers, unless they're family members living with them, should be discouraged. And flower girls are okay, but they need to understand social distancing protocols. A little kid under 2 or 3 is not going to understand that you have to stay away from Uncle Fred. Although everybody should stay away from Uncle Fred because I know Uncle Fred. The seating, the table should be appropriately distanced into family units and smaller groups. We were talking about this at our last meeting, coming up with designs for appropriate distancing. One of the things I saw is to keep the tables covered until the reception starts to maintain the safety of all the table settings. That way, somebody walking by and sneezes, that won't get all over it. Or, especially if it's outdoors, stuff won't land on the plates. So discourage table changing and visiting beyond the acceptable limits. If you're doing a food or bar service, traditional buffet really can't work there because there's too much common touching of surfaces. So find a creative way of doing table service where guests and servers are not too close. Put the buffet behind glass or plexiglass and have servers serve the buffet of whatever items they want and then pass it through the glass. This is the way it was when I was doing a wedding at that venue, and they set up a really nice suite. We can do a helicopter drop. That probably won't work too well. But the bar, make sure the bar is behind plexiglass and then one drink at a time is there. Don't have any self-serve champagne or anything like that. And again, what I talked about earlier, virtual meals delivered. Need to take a sip, give me a moment. A decorative floral should always be completed before the guest arrival. Bouquets and boutonnieres should be appropriately sanitized and given to the bridal party on a clean table, spaced apart. The boutonniere should not be put on by the florist or a planner or a vendor. If they need help putting them on, they should be given printed instructions on how, or a link to a video beforehand to understand how to pin them on. So what we're recommending is using magnetic boutonnieres, which are highly recommended because now you don't have to pin them on, you don't have to have somebody pin them on, and they'll stay in place a little better. So we may want to pivot to magnetic boutonnieres for that. Have small tables during the ceremony to place the bouquet. So now, normally the bride would pass off the bouquet to the maid of honor. Well, you can't really do that now unless you're family. You can't really pass off something. So you would have a small table during the ceremony to place the bouquet on, and probably place the rings on as well. DJs and musicians can be done virtually using the video screens and speakers. In other words, you can have a DJ in a far off place at their home spinning on a video screen and working the crowd that way. But if in person, they'll be set up far away from the guest tables with a plexiglass screen in front of them as possible. Band members, if they're doing it, need to be appropriately distanced. All the microphones will be sanitized before and after use and be placed on a clean table. The DJ should not put the lapel mic on the groom, bride, or officiant himself. Instead, show them how to put it on so the wires are not visible. Before and after, they should be sanitized and then spaced on a special table. The DJ can take requests by text. There's some applications that you can use by text to be able to have take recommendations. Have guests appropriately spaced on the dance floor. And how do you do that? Well, you give them, based on the facility, you can have multiple dance floors on different sides of the room. You can, try to let people know, hey, we love this, but we need to maintain social distancing. Photo booths. Photo booths can still be done safely, but indoor style photo booths are discouraged. Open airs are the best. Indoor ones, there's so many possibilities of touching, sitting, breathing the same air, so you don't really want to use the open air ones. I mean, the enclosed ones. No props can be used though, for now. When I was setting up this bigger wedding, when they were setting it up, they started putting out hats and scarves and masks. And I'm like, what the heck are you doing? Why are you doing this? It shouldn't be done. And they go, oh, I didn't think about that. Well, put that stuff away. Think about it. If there's a touch screen for the photo booth, it must be sanitized between each use. Place the created photos on a clean table and sanitize that table often. Or if you don't do prints, deliver everything digitally. Limit the number of guests in each picture and have remote guests send in selfies. Some companies have cool selfie apps that you text it to and it'll make a special picture for them with the layout of the wedding, just like if you were there. Limo and valet service. A limo must be cleaned and sanitized before the pickup. And all limo guests must be from the same family. So you can't have the bride and all the bridesmaids in the same limo because that is mixing the air way too much and way too close. If you're using a valet, it must be masked and change the sanitized gloves between cars, and definitely have the windows rolled down when you're picking up or dropping off. Hair and makeup, well, as of yesterday, hair and hair salons will be able to open in certain counties. So right now they're working on the CDC guidelines. I don't have a lot to tell you about that. So now that we kind of know what the basics are, the next part is forming a micro wedding team. So if you're a venue, find planners to form a team. If you're a planner, start with the venue and start finding teammates from there. And if you're a vendor, put a team together and then approach a planner or a vendor. Find like-minded safe vendors. If somebody doesn't want to be safe oriented, then don't have them as part of your team. Find somebody else who will agree to safety. Create special pricing packages that make sense. Make all-in-one package or do it a la carte. Remember, we're in the dream business and let's help their dreams come true, even if it is smaller. So I'm going to stop my screen share in a second. This is how you get a hold of me at greatofficiants.com, and on all social media, you can reach me at Great Officiants. All right, I'm going to stop my share now.
Thank you, Alan. That was great. So what we'll do is we'll kind of open it up to questions. If any of you have a question, just unmute yourself. Colleen, go ahead.
I'm curious, these are all rules that you and the group came up with?
No, these are rules that I deemed from things that I put together. These were just ideas that I came up with based on stuff that I've read from, other websites and CDC, and just came up with some creative ideas of things that I thought would be very important.
And are you sharing them with like the city or anything, or what are you doing with them?
So this presentation basically was the basis of what our group that we just met with an hour ago is doing. Is we're actually putting together a package. We're having specialists from venues, we have specialists from DJs writing their portion of it, of what they think the safety part would be based on the guidelines. And then we're submitting this as one big package as our recommendations to allow weddings to be started again.
And so is that the goal, to get the city to open up events? I mean, what's the end result you're hoping for by doing this?
The result is that, they've outlined everything opening up churches, but they haven't said anything about events like this. So we want to give them a way to start with smaller events, start it small. That way, at least we get in, at least we can tell these couples who are doing their weddings in July, hey, we have an in, we can still do it. You have to cut your list down to, 25% of what it was, or 25% of what the venue can hold. Whatever those parameters will be, we got to get the government to at least agree to our ideas, because people in the government won't do anything. And if they do something, it's because they don't know what they're doing and they're just making arbitrary rules. So what we're kind of doing is a collaboration with them, saying, look, this is what the wedding industry thinks is going to be doable. And this is where we'd like to start. Let's start here and let's get it going, and let's get your input and let's make it work. And so that's why I decided to put the Southern California ABC, WIPA, NACE group together, so that everybody has a little bit of input in this. So when we submit it to the government, it's a compilation of all of our thoughts. But the presentation was just something I wrote myself.
Right, but as arbitrary as that sounds, it's not just thrown together. You have research behind it. You have CDC stuff that you've done, and also talking with all of the people that you deal with in the Orange County area and Long Beach and whatnot. You have people from Disney that you work with. You have people from larger chain hotels and golf courses. So it's not just you. When you said it, you kind of made it sound like, well, I just kind of made it up and I thought it was cool.
No, I mean, I didn't.
I know that's not true, and I know your background, and I know that there's a lot more to it than that. It's stuff that you've gleaned from all of these conversations with these companies and these venues and other services. So it's definitely well thought out.
Really well done.
Yeah. I mean, it feels a little over the top, but that's how it has to be able to get in.
Have you ever known me to be not over the top?
Never. I've seen, you're the only person who has matching masks and underwear. So,
Yes.
no. But anyways, so Lauren, do you have a question?
Katz, have you actually conducted a service wearing a mask?
Every ceremony I do, since coronavirus closed down everything May 16th, I've done 70 weddings.
Yeah.
And there's not one that I haven't had a mask on.
Okay, did you find that difficult to get used to? Did you
have to find a mask that works for you?
Restrictive in any way? It seems to me a very difficult thing. I'm just an officiant. I've done maybe 250 or maybe 300 weddings since I've been a chaplain, and all different kind of venues, of course. Just couples who wanted to get married and didn't have a whole lot of money to spend, and others that wanted a gigantic, full-blown thing. But being in front of the couple and having them go through the wedding vows and all, did you practice that before you went before the couple? Like the actor in the mirror, did I get this part right?
Well,
and I find it very strange, but I haven't done it yet. And I haven't had a call yet from anybody, so maybe I won't ever have to cross that bridge. But I was just wondering how you felt about it.
You know, I found a mask. I tried different types of masks, and I found masks that would work well with me. I mean, some masks are very restrictive, and you know, you can't breathe very well, and it looks like you're like inhaling, exhaling. But find the ones that have the V, and they give you a lot more, you know, breathing space per se.
I see, yeah.
Also, you know, especially, I don't mean to bring age into it, but you're probably what, about 45, Lauren, right? 45, 50?
Would you believe I'm a senior citizen, man. I've hit my 80s, and I'm in that group. That's
right. So you want to definitely make sure you protect yourself.
Yeah,
Right?
of course.
So if you do a wedding, recommend that everybody, you know, say, hey, you want to hire me? I'm 80. I need protection.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like bring a gun. You're in Kern County. But
I think we need to be taking, you know, pretty seriously, because if you do something and you affect some people, the thing that's really amazing about this virus deal is that you could be a carrier, according to what they've told us, and not even have any symptoms. So you don't know if you're sick or not. If you
that's
feel
why wearing a mask at all times when you're at an event like this is essential.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't know, you know, with the way that things have changed, we used to have a list that was maintained by the county clerk, and that's where I usually got my calls, was from the county clerk's office. Because when the couple went in to get their marriage license, they would hand them the list, the officiants list, and then they could pick whoever they wanted to pick off the list. Well, that got to be, I think, very difficult for the county to maintain, and they finally stopped doing it, and now they're not handing it out at all. And so I really haven't had a call for a year. The last wedding I did was in May of last year. And so, you know, I don't know if I'm going to be doing weddings anymore or not. But as a chaplain, weddings is just one thing that I do. I do other things too. You know, I do funerals. I don't particularly care to do funerals, but I will do those. And I have other responsibilities as a chaplain. Have a lot of law enforcement people that I'm close to, and have a deputy that lives right next to me here, and we converse a lot about things that's happening in the law enforcement area.
Nice.
But I do love doing weddings. I kind of became my specialty. I didn't really intend it to be that way, but that's kind of how it worked out. And
I bet you're pretty awesome at what you do, Lauren.
yeah, well, I really love doing it, and my church is very restrictive. Getting married through my church, which is a Baptist church, you have to have at least 2 weeks of counseling. And a lot of young people who are getting married today, they either don't have a church affiliation, or they don't want to spend that kind of time. So I did try to, you know, converse with them. I always try to meet with them in advance, and I try to tell them what they're getting into, because some people realize or don't realize that, you know, a marriage takes work on both parts. And some people don't realize that, or they don't consider it when they're thinking about getting married. So anyway, I do go through that process.
Thanks, Lauren. And he's a treasurer of Kern County. He does a lot of stuff for hotels and a lot of north of the river chamber and stuff like that. So so anyway, so thanks, Lauren. I appreciate it. Does anybody else, Darlene, Don, Larissa, any of you have a question for him? Don, you do? Go ahead and unmute. And you have to unmute, Don. All right.
How's that?
Don has a venue, and he does outside catering as well. So
what are you seeing as far as a percentage now of pre-plated meals for weddings, or the buffet style obviously is out for the present, and so dishing up behind plexiglass?
Yeah, dishing up behind plexiglass. It's buffet, but it's hosted buffet.
Yeah.
If you think about it that way.
Got it. So what are you saying? What kind of, is that all of it? Is that like 90% of what's going on in weddings now, or
Well,
what?
I think that's the big challenge, because here's where the challenge lies, is you have a table, say they're all family members, say there's 6 people sitting at the table, they're all family members. Your waiter leans in to drop the plate. Now he's 3 inches from somebody's face. You don't want that. So if you want to do actual table service, there's a couple ways to do it. And I know this sounds weird, but for some reason you get the guests to stand up away from the table. Hey, everybody, stand up. Let's get a picture of your table. And while they're getting a picture, you can plate it. That would be a way that they can stay away. You have to have other stations around, like a coffee station, because you don't want waiters leaning in pouring coffee, leaning in pouring water. So you can have, stations of coffee and water around if you want.
Yeah. Alan, something that was brought up earlier in our last meeting from your caterer, I can't remember her name right now, but she talked about buffets themselves and having, they're called sneeze guards basically, or, guards and stuff like that, but having them separate, 6 feet and having, it's served to the client, kind of like you do, Don, with the meat, except for that everything's now behind and you're serving it, so there's less contact that way.
Right.
Well,
I'm going to show you a little video on my phone. Let me take this off.
Show us your bedroom.
Yeah, I know. You have to see my bedroom real quick.
Yeah, we started doing that right towards the end before they shut everything down, as we began dishing up.
Yeah.
And I'm just, as I go into the wedding market again, just kind of want to know if there's any other ideas.
So you see those little holes there? All the food's on those trays, and they get passed through those holes. There'll be dedicated people behind the plexiglass saying, "Ooh, I want that," and then they'll pass it through those holes right in there. And that's a pretty safe way of doing it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Is that just on your phone, or is that something you put up on Facebook or Instagram or something?
I can't put it up because the venue asked me not to post anything.
Okay, gotcha. That's cool though. Don, anything else?
No, I think that's probably it. Other than, I'm assuming that we're going to have to pass hors d'oeuvres, the hors d'oeuvre station where you get in line and, get your own cheese and crackers and artichoke dip. You're going to have to do that way.
Right.
And as far as, obviously our costs have gone up. What about any kind of issues negotiating with brides? Like, okay, we're going to have to scale down your buffet. It did have 5 salads. Well, now we're going to go down to 3. Are you finding that people are kind of going with the flow because of the situation, or can you make changes?
I think people want to do their weddings, and they don't know what the new normal is. So we kind of have to educate them and say, hey, now that we want to do this, if you want to do this, in addition, we're going to have the tables done this way. We're going to have to do it hosted buffet style. But we're also going to need to have a safety officer and a health officer and a dedicated cleaning crew. We do have to charge a little bit more for those additional items. And that will be different items on your, what do they call that thing that you guys make? Yeah, MSP or whatever that is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
I'm as I'm listening and I'm thinking about stuff, I lose my train of thought here completely just now. I had something in my mind. I think a lot of it, and this is where we all come in, is nobody, and like I said, whether it's other professionals, definitely not the clients, the brides, the grooms, the guests, and not even the government at this point, really know what's going on. So if we say it, it becomes so. It's just like, when the first bridal show comes up in January and we say, purple is the hot new color. Then all of a sudden, brides are like, I like purple. That's kind of the color I want to go with. Well, just because we said it, and all of a sudden it is. And I'm sure, you see that, Don, in the food area. You say, yeah, the cupcakes on every single, all of a sudden the bride likes that idea, or you, Colleen, if you suggest something, and all of a sudden the bride's like, oh, yeah, that's what I want. So we have that opportunity by being together to set the parameters of what the bride is going to expect. If we say, no, this is the way we have to do it, then they're like, oh, okay, I guess that's what we have to do. they don't know that you're just making it up. You're not, but you know what I mean? You're just coming up with protocol. It's what we said, and we happen to be the authority, and so that must be the way it is. You know? So that's the opportunity that we have. And that's also why Colleen and myself and a few other people up here are putting together a task force, which I'm working with Alan on down in the Orange County area to really learn from them and their group.
You're with Alan on? You're with Alan on?
Alan on,
Oh,
yeah.
Alan on. Oh, okay.
Alan on.
Having a drinking problem, Kyle.
Shh. I'm Kyle with Alan on. So anyways, I think we have a lot of opportunity here if we just take advantage of it and make those things happen. Do you have any questions, Darlene?
No, I'm just trying to digest all this because, you know, our biggest concern is the number of people that attend the events that we put on.
Right.
I don't have anything under 200 up to 350 people at an event, and only probably 50% of them are weddings.
Right.
Our quinceañeras, wedding anniversary parties, that sort of thing.
And then, of course, you have your own things that go on there at the Women's Club, too.
We have about 3 of our own events. The big one's at Rabobank, and we have no idea where that's going to go this year. But the attendance is going to be the key thing for us, and how we can actually set up the room to accommodate as many people as we possibly can and still stay within the parameters.
I think the one important thing is setting up client expectations. In other words, letting them know, hey, you know, we can do this, but we all have to have a big but. It didn't sound right. You know, so have everybody understand, sign something that says, look, we have to do social distancing. I know that's tough at a quinceañera. Everybody wants to hang out, but we have to tell them, look, we have protocols that we have to keep. If we want to keep this going and we don't want to get shut down, then we have to keep by these protocols until there's a solution to this virus. You know, we have to play by some rules. And, you know, I mean, we have to play by rules anyway. We have to put our seatbelts on. You know, we have to, you know, clean the kitchen. We have to get rid of rats. So it's all just part of the new things that we have to make couples and you know, corporate clients understand that, hey, this is a new normal. We want to be able to do your event, but this is how we have to do it.
Yeah, I'm just getting questions. I booked this event for 300 people. That's how many I'm inviting. How much are you going to reduce the price if I can only have 50 people?
Right, and that's something that you really have to come up with.
Right.
I would say that you line item it, you know, the venue is this much, you know, regardless if you had 20 people, if you want to reserve the entire venue, then this is the cost. You know, the tables and chairs might cost you a little bit less because it saves us in labor, but, you know.
That's what I've been telling them. We rent the venue. We don't rent it by the number of people attending. But again,
Right.
you know, it's just going to be trial and error and see what happens.
And it'll be a learning curve, you know.
I'm curious for venues, I mean, are they waiting for the city to give the okay to open back up, or?
Pretty much.
So Darlene, who will let you know that you can do events again?
Probably public health, or there'll be some kind of an announcement. I've heard that we're probably going to be, venues will be in phase 3. So if they open phase 3, then that would include us, but then we need to know what the parameters are and how many people we can actually have in the building at one time.
And that's what we're trying to establish. If we give them the rules, you know, or we give them the advice and this is what we think will work, it makes their job easier, you know, and they're like, yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, sure. That works. Let's go with that. If we can make their job easier and guide the conversation, then it'll work out better for us, I think.
Like what they did for churches is churches can now open to 25% of their capacity or 100 people, whichever is less. So if you have a church that'll hold 50 people, you can only have 25% of that. Or if it holds 1,000 people, you can only have 100 people.
So Alan, I'm super curious with the micro weddings and the elopements. Are those allowed at venues because they're a very small number, or?
Technically, most places say groups of 10 or less. and most surrounding areas are okay. You know, in my wedding chapel, I allow no more than 4 guests. Basically, mom and dad, mom and dad. And
You're only doing kind of like elopements. You're not really doing micro weddings, huh?
I know I'm doing both. I mean, I've done some, you know, like I said, I was at, you know, a big ranch, a big well-known ranch, doing a full micro wedding with all the vendors there. I've done several of those, and I do a lot of elopements as well. I have a wedding chapel, so I have people coming in every day getting married.
I'm kind of curious because I'm like, when do we in Bakersfield, Kyle, open up and allow, or, you know, can we do micro weddings right now?
I think a little bit more research, but I think we could. Again, depending on the number and also the layout. If we do an outdoor wedding at, let's say, you know, junior league or hard part, wherever, it's an outdoor event. We distance people, social distance them. We bring, you know, we say normally, I know it's a small ceremony and you don't normally need chairs, but we're bringing chairs this time because we're going to put them apart so you know where to sit, and you know, we social distance them. We could do that. I mean, you've got a huge Liberty Hall, Don. You know, you could definitely do a micro wedding in there. I mean, what's your accommodations and the Liberty Hall?
450.
Yeah, so a 50-person wedding would definitely be social distancing. You know, that would be easy. You throw that, and then you do a couple of dance floors that are smaller, 8x8 or whatever size those boards are, you know, and separate those. Now you got dance stations. You know, you got that going on. So yeah, I mean, there's if we plan it out and say this is what we're doing, then all of a sudden the client is going to go, oh, okay, and go with it. We've done our stuff. We've done our part. We've gone.
There might be differences between indoor requirements and outdoor requirements.
Right.
You know, if you're indoor, you know, definitely a lot more requirements, you know, that you have to go by. Outdoors, it's a lot easier. That's why I don't even bring anybody into my wedding chapel. We have an outdoor terrace where we do it, and everybody goes out there. So that way I don't have to worry. I worry less about
yeah,
people getting sick.
Well, awesome. Anybody else have a question or?
Yeah, I have a question for Darlene. Darlene, do you represent the Bakersfield Women's Club?
I do, yes.
Okay. My wife is very concerned about the Festival of the Trees. She's been doing that for years.
Believe me.
From the time you started it.
Yeah, we don't know. We have conversations with Rabobank all the time. They can't tell us anything yet. They said we should be able to have something. It just may look a lot different. And we could actually postpone it and not even do it this year. We just don't know yet.
You don't know yet. Okay. That will affect Don too, probably, because he caters that a lot. I know.
Yeah.
I'll pass it on. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Lauren. All right. Any other questions? No. All right. Don, yes.
No, I was going. My battery's about ready to go. I just want to say
Okay.
hi to Pauline and everybody, and I probably got to bow out while I have 2% left.
All
Done.
right.
Don?
We're good. I think if nobody else has any other questions, everything from today has been recorded and will be available in a few days for you to review and go back and check out. There'll be links and show notes and all that kind of stuff on the bio page on weddingtalkradio.com, probably by Monday or so. And Alan, thank you. I really appreciate you taking the time, especially as busy as you are right now.
Yeah, very interesting.
You got another wedding today, I think, right? After this.
Yeah, I have 2 more weddings and 2 marriage licenses.
Yeah. So crazy stuff.
All right.
Thank you.